let's go into player ratings. Starting off with Vicario, Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I remember him making one good save last night. I think from the set pieces that we conceded, he couldn't get close to any of them. Apart from that, he was fairly untested, to be honest. I mean, I can't remember much that Vicario did yesterday.
Obviously, there was one, he got a kind of touch on Jackson's shot, which allowed Van de Ven to kind of scramble it off the line. He did look quite shaky from a few set pieces, to be honest. There was a few times where he was looking nervous before the set piece came in and then flapped it a few. But other than that, I thought his kicking was a bit average, but he did make a couple of good saves. I didn't think he did too much wrong for both goals. Not sure what he really could have done. Great header and obviously great free kick from Palmer. So I don't know what much he could do for those situations. But yeah, he didn't inspire me much confidence though during the game, to be fair.
Yeah. Next up, Pedro Porro. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought it was a poor performance from Pedro, and he's a player that also is regressing throughout this season. Started off like a house on fire. Halfway through the season, you're probably talking about one of the right backs in the Premier League, but last 5 or 6 games, I think he's been really poor. Defensively, he's been okay, although I thought Mudryk gave him a really torrid time yesterday. I thought he found it hard to deal with him. But where's this offensive ability gone from Pedro Porro? I mean, he's not contributing on the offensive aspects of the game anywhere near like he was doing previously this season. And his crossing ability as well. Like every cross he seems to put in seems to be just completely off it.
Yeah. A lot of his crosses went into the stand yesterday, which was very frustrating. Similar on Sunday against Arsenal, his crossing was really poor. I thought he'd put some good set pieces in. Obviously, he nearly set one for Romero.
Police are coming for the players, the criminals.
Yeah, honestly, lock them up. I think Mudryk, I think we're lucky Mudryk has got absolutely no final contribution whatsoever, because if he did, he could have been sitting there with a goal or an assist for sure. I thought
that chance was actually going in, that curling effort he had on the edge of the box. From where I was sitting, it looked like it was going to nestle in the top corner.
Yeah, we know Mudryk's a fast dribbler and he can be difficult to deal with in that aspect, but he definitely gave Porro a lot of trouble. I thought in general play there were some good moments from him pressing, but then also some sloppy moments as well. I thought it was definitely more negative, unfortunately, this one for Porro than positive.
Cuti Romero, 7s all round from Romero. I thought he defended well for the most part. He's, like I said in the match review, he is one of the few players right now that is stepping up for the team week in, week out. You see he wants it. It's just a shame some of the other players can't match it. And look, he probably should have had a goal yesterday from the set piece. From that far out, you got to be putting it in the back of the net. But I think from a defensive standpoint and other aspects of the game, I think he was all right last night.
He seems to be our best defender and our biggest threat going forward at the moment as well. He could have had a hat-trick on Sunday. He could have scored another goal yesterday as well. I thought as well, when he picks up the ball and he enters the opposition half, he's one of our most dangerous passers in terms of finding the likes of Kulusevski and in the pockets, or Richarlison and Son, and then he's continually let down by the recipient receiving the pass, taking a poor touch or a bad layoff or anything like that. I thought he played really well. I think he was let down a lot by his teammates. I thought he had another strong game, but it's worrying when we're conceding the level of chances like that and we're talking about our centre-backs being our best players every week.
Yeah, they can't do it on their own.
Yeah.
That's the reality. If the midfielders are underperforming, the fullbacks are underperforming, the attackers are underperforming. Like, 2 centre-backs can't take on an 11 by themselves. So that's what we're seeing at the moment. Let's move on to Mickey Van de Ven, another one that's stepping up for the team. Like I said, Mickey Van de Ven and Cuti Romero are playing brilliantly at the moment. And Mickey Van de Ven, we're giving them 7s each. Cleared one off the line, which the away end, it looked like it was trickling the back of the net. But he did clear it straight to Cole Palmer. And Cole Palmer, luckily for us, ballooned it from 3 yards out.
Well, he kind of smashed it at him.
Yeah. But I do think like Cole Palmer could have put that in the back of the net, a player of his quality. But apart from that, I thought Mickey was brilliant. A few times he was taking, authority by himself, charging down that left wing, trying to make stuff happen. But from a defensive standpoint, really good. And again, one of the only players standing up for us.
Yeah, and I actually thought, again, on the ball, charging forward, driving with the ball at his feet and getting the ball up the pitch, much better than in previously as well. He's starting to really improve that aspect of his game, starting to get a lot more confident. Again, running in behind, I thought fairly brilliant. I thought he dealt with Jackson quite well for most of the game, although Jackson did have that one-on-one. I thought, apart from that chance, he marshaled Jackson really well. And obviously had that goal line clearance. I thought another really strong showing from Van de Ven, but unfortunately, again, it's like he's got so much work to do. Sometimes it looks like he's being caught out, but it's just the level of work he's being asked.
Yeah. Emerson Royale, 4s all round for Emerson. Kind of what you expect from Emerson, although I thought he was poorer defensively than I probably would have expected going into this game. The amount of times he got dribbled by yesterday, I don't know the numbers, but it must have been around 5, 6 or 7.
5 in the first half.
5 in the first half. Yeah. Well, there you go. And Noni Madueke and Cole Palmer both giving him an absolutely torrid time. I guess the only good thing I got to say on Emerson yesterday is that at least he was getting himself in attacking positions when Brennan Johnson was on that right wing. He was in the box a couple of times where if the cross was right, he could have poked it in the back of the net, but the cross wasn't right, so it goes unnoticed. So poor display from Emerson, and I guess we just got to put up with it from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a shambles, to be honest. I thought he was really poor. Couldn't live with Madueke for love nor money. Madueke pretty much got the ball, and every single time he drove on the outside, and he just had Emerson on toast. And every time he got to the byline, Emerson had absolutely no answer to it. It was really, really difficult for Emerson to deal with that situation. It was way too easy for Madueke to take him on and beat him. Going forward, he got into some good positions, but unfortunately just didn't have the quality to take any sort of advantage with any of them. Was maybe a bit unfortunate to not have a penalty, but I don't think VAR was ever going to give that penalty from Madueke. Madueke kind of put his hand on him and dragged him down, but I don't think it was ever going to be given. But I think from Emerson's point of view, he got the wrong side of him, and then he decided to go over after he felt contact. And maybe if the penalty's given, I don't think VAR are overturning it.
What was the score at the time?
I think it was 1-0 to Chelsea. I think it was in the first half. What I will say about Emerson is I think he did improve a little in the second half in terms of I don't think Madueke was roasting him as many times, but I do think there's probably more to do with Madueke maybe tiring a bit more than Emerson doing anything differently. So that's why maybe didn't get worse than a 4. But I am worried about him from now to the end of the season.
Pape Matasar, 4s all round for Pape, and I was actually really frustrated with Pape yesterday in the game. The amount of times he just kept giving the ball away, these poor passing, normal passes as well, like short passes to midfield players or to the wingers and stuff, and he just kept misplacing his passing consistently time and time again, and it was a real big source of frustration where, you're trying to get yourselves in the game, you're trying to get yourselves in the ascendancy and put some possession together, and it was just so frustrating, and I don't think he was strong enough in the game either.
And I think Ange probably felt that as well. You saw him screaming at Pape on the touchline, pass the ball forward. I think he said what was quite frustrating is actually, especially in the second half, Pape found himself in a couple of really good breakaways, and both times he picked the wrong decision. Where there was one where Son was completely in on goal, and he decides to go to the right hand side to Brennan, who had 2 men on him, rather than Son, who's completely open and free, and very frustrating from Pape. I think a few times he was not brave enough on the ball, not passing forward, deciding to play the safe option, wasn't aggressive enough as well off the ball, wasn't getting enough involved in enough duels. I thought he was bullied by Caicedo and Gallagher off the ball as well. And he seemed off it ever since that back injury. He seems completely off it recently. So another poor display from him. Like
every other one of our midfielders, to be fair. But let's move on to Bissouma. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 4. Another player that I was really frustrated with. Maybe not because of his misplaced passes, but I think the amount of time he takes to pick his pass. I thought he just dawdled on the ball so much yesterday, Bissouma, and it was just so frustrating. First half, he was terrible. Second half, he improved a little bit, but not enough in my opinion. Still a complete shadow of the player that we saw in the first 10 games of the season. And when are we going to start seeing that player come back again? I question if we're ever going to see it.
At this point, that's a fair question. I would say I thought he was one of our better midfielders on the day. I would say I thought his first touch was really frustrating. Every time he gets the ball, his first touch seems to be a yard out of his feet. His close control seems to be non-existent at the moment, which is really, really frustrating. I think when we were on the attack and then we're counter-pressing, I think he was actually doing some really good work, helping Tottenham sustain a bit of pressure, helping Tottenham retain the ball, and the reading of the game was really good. And actually, some of his long passing yesterday was actually quite good. But again, he's still not doing enough. And he was doing committing a bit more risk to the game, but giving a ball away with too many sloppy moments. And it feels like when he's being put under pressure and like he's got a difficult ball to deal with, a lot of the times his first touch is off it, and his first touch is way too loose, and it gives the opposition a chance to win the ball back. And whereas earlier in the season, he maybe would do that, but back his physical qualities to retain possession. At the moment, he's coming out second best, and that's what's costing us.
Kulusevski up next. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. Started in the number 10 position, where myself and a lot of fans feel like is his best position. Did move over to the right later on in the game, but I don't think he impressed in either position, to be honest. And after a really positive display in the North London derby, where he, showed that ball carrying ability, showed how he can be really hard to deal with, I think he was anything but that. And when Madison's on the bench and he's supposed to be the chief creator, he's got to be doing a lot more in that middle of the park to create chances for the attacking players, and I just don't think he did that.
Yeah, unfortunately, wasn't a good display from Dijk. Wasn't creative enough. He had a couple of opportunities to maybe get a shot off, and he decided to not do that. He decided to always play that extra pass. I thought it became a lot less effective when he moved over to the right. Unfortunately, he wasn't getting on the ball anywhere near enough. Again, this is my problem with Dijk when he's in the 10. I think he's a good physical player. He can shove players away, and he actually plays a bit higher up than Madison, which was good. But I feel like when he gets in and around the penalty box, he doesn't have that eye for a pass or that ability to get a shot off like Madison does. I know Madison has been showing it recently anyway, so it's by the by. But I feel like that's also him in the number 10. I still question whether that's his natural position, to be honest, because I don't know who's got that effectiveness to really hurt the opposition from there when he's kind of asked to make those goal contributions in the final third. I felt like he had an opportunity to do that yesterday, and he just didn't do it.
But he needs that from the right-hand side as well. If he's going to play right winger in this system, he needs to show that in that position as well.
I think he creates more chances on the right-hand side than he does in the centre. I feel like when he plays centre, he doesn't actually create that many chances. He gets on the ball more, but I don't think he creates that many chances. I think from the right, for all the stuff that he doesn't do, one thing he does do is create chances. I think he does do that. Even when he's playing badly, he does that, in my opinion. So that's why I don't know. That's why I feel like, for me, I want to see him next to Madison in the number 8. That's what I want to see him try. And one thing as well, I also think he struggled with is the defensive side of it. For someone who's very combative, he kept giving away so many silly fouls. He just kept fouling and fouling, and one of them cost us. Yeah. One of them, he fouled for the Palmer free kick.
And it happens so many times, doesn't it, with Kulusevski? Like, he gives away these stupid fouls and it ends up hurting us. I remember a couple of games it's happened this season. Everton was one as well, that he gave away a stupid foul, ended up hurting us again yesterday at Chelsea. So he needs to improve, man. He needs to massively improve. Let's move on to Heung-min Son. 4s all round for Sonny. Everyone's been calling for him to play on the left. We did that, and it didn't improve anything. I thought he got completely outplayed by Alfie Gilchrist, playing his, second or third start in a Chelsea shirt, which is absolutely embarrassing. And he's got to be doing more. As much as I love Sonny, I really do, from the bottom of my heart, but he's just not playing well at the moment. Ever since he's come back from Korea, I think, from the Asia Cup, I don't think he's put in consistent performances, and as a captain, he needs to be doing more to kind of galvanise this team and get this team together as well. So, unfortunately, it's a poor performance from Sonny.
Yeah, I think there was a moment right at the beginning of the game where he spun Gilchrist and then got past him. I was like, okay, all right, maybe he's going to have him on toast this game. Unfortunately, that was the last time he did it. Gilchrist was very aggressive up against him, didn't give him any sort of space, didn't give him any time to breathe. But Son, being the experienced player, should be aware of that, should be adjusting for that, and he kind of let Gilchrist bully him. And didn't hold on to the ball at all, didn't make sure that Gilchrist was, wasn't earning fouls from him or anything. Because Gilchrist was being super aggressive, but he just allowed him to win the ball. He didn't make sure he was being clever about it at all, Sonny. And didn't get him behind Gilchrist as well. Didn't what frustrating was he didn't kind of spin Gilchrist and go running behind him and exploit any of that space. He kept trying to get the ball to feet, and he just kept getting dominated and just allowed it to happen. When he did have the ball at his feet a bit in the second half, he had a couple of really good occasions to get the shot off, didn't take them, decided to play the extra pass. But there was also a few occasions where he actually had some space to run in behind, and he just wasn't found as well. That was also very frustrating. When he moved centrally, moved up front, didn't really affect the game, was a bit anonymous. Got on the ball a couple of times, but again, not in areas that will help Chelsea. So, unfortunately, it was a disappointing day from Sonny.
Brennan Johnson up next, 5s all round from us. Probably the player that looked like he wanted it the most in that front line. He was getting the ball, particularly in the second half when we looked like we were, on top. He was getting the ball, he was charging down that right-hand side, getting crosses in the box, but the crosses were just so weak and so poor. A bit similar to the North London derby when he came on, in the second half when we had the ascendancy. He was going to attack his fullback and doing it quite well, but every single cross was so poor. So he needs to improve his end product, but I thought his mentality was a lot better than maybe some of the other players on the team yesterday.
Yeah, I felt at least he was, trying to do what Ange wants him, which is get to the byline, get some crosses in across the face of goal. And he was causing some trouble. Unfortunately, none of them did really reach his intended target. But, a couple of times he nearly forced an own goal. He forced Petrovic to make some interventions, which he was not looking quite safe with. Some of them had a lot of fizz on them, but then some of his crosses as well floated out of play, floated easily into the keeper, and then once he moved on to the left, he became completely ineffective. And as well, I felt like unless he had the run on Cucurella, as soon as Cucurella could slow him down for even half a second, he had him in his pocket, unfortunately, and more often than not, he would lose possession. So still a lot of stuff for Brennan to work on, but I felt like on the occasions he did have a bit of space and he whipped the cross in early. He caused a bit of trouble, but unfortunately a bit of trouble is not enough at this level.
And finally, of the starting 11, Richarlison, who obviously started in the number 9, 4s all round for Ritchie, and it was probably pretty much a non-event for Ritchie. I don't remember anything that he did, to be fair. I think he was anonymous throughout the whole time he was on the pitch yesterday, and yeah, maybe he put himself about a little bit, tried to win headers, but apart from that, it was non-existent performance.
Yeah, and again, he's going back to how he was earlier in the season, where the ball gets fizzed into him. He's asked to do a nice little layoff to a teammate, and he's just not able to do it. It's always loose, lacks care, always gives the ball away. And those little nuances are very, very important when you're playing target man. You need to be able to find your teammate to keep the attack alive, because every time the ball gets played to you and you're giving it away, that attack is breaking down, we're getting counter-attacked on, and all of a sudden it takes time for those moves to get started again. It's very, very frustrating when Ritchie's in the kind of mood he's in yesterday. What I would say is there was one moment where Brennan had space and he could have squared it to Ritchie for a tap-in. He goes for the wrong pass, he goes for Sarr for the cutback, and Sarr had his shot blocked, whereas if he went for Ritchie, that was a tap-in and probably a goal for Ritchie. So he made a few runs which he could have been found. Unfortunately, the pass wasn't good enough or wasn't made at those times, but he wasn't getting involved anywhere near enough for me, so poor performance.
Now to the substitutes, starting off with Rodrigo Bentancur. Sim gives him a 5, I gave him a 6. I felt when Rodrigo came on, he tried to spur the team forward, a bit of quicker passing, a bit of drive forward, but I think he was always fighting a losing battle because nothing really did come at the end of his passes or at the end of his runs or anything like that. But I liked his kind of attitude and application when he came on, but still not a great performance.
Yeah, I thought it was decent. I thought he did well up until we conceded the second. When we conceded the second, you see his head seemed to drop a bit. But yeah, he definitely was better than what preceded him. But I don't think he was anything groundbreaking. Madison,
Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought it was another lacklustre display from Madison. And I just don't know where this Madison has gone. We all know what a good player he is. And I can't remember the last time he actually put in a top display for us. It must be before his injury. He's put in okay and good displays.
Villa away, I thought he was quite good.
Yeah, he's put in okay and good displays, but not like a top display that we know Madison can produce, but especially on a consistent basis, that's for sure. Maybe you can say the Aston Villa is the outlier since he's come back from his injury. But again, he got taken out the team, and you would think that when he comes on, I think we were losing 1-0 when he came on,
yeah,
and you would think he would have a bit of fire in his belly, and he would, after losing his space in the team, really dictate the tempo of the game, start doing those chance creations, and maybe having a few shots as well. But I failed to see what he brought to the team yesterday.
I actually thought he was quite good for about 10 minutes after he came on. He was spinning a few players. He was picking up some really good positions. I think we started to really look dangerous at those moments. And I thought, okay, he's making an impact. And then that second goal goes in, and I thought his head completely went. He started making stupid decisions. He had some really bad shots. He went for some Hollywood crosses, which didn't come off at all. Really wayward. And he stopped looking as dangerous as he was. But is what it is at the moment with him. He just can't seem to get it right at the moment for Madison. But I did think for about 10 minutes or so he was looking quite bright.
Is that why he gets the extra point for those 10 minutes?
Pretty much, yeah.
Højbjerg also came on, 5s all round for Højbjerg. I mean, what can I say about Højbjerg? I think Højbjerg just did what he says on the tin when he came on, to be honest. Put about him in the central midfield, but with a lack of real quality in driving runs going forward. So he put in a few challenges. That's about it.
Yeah, I thought there were some really good ball recoveries, and I think if we would have made more out of those moments, maybe we're talking about a higher mark for Højbjerg, because I think there would have been more kind of appreciated, because I thought he actually won the ball back in some really good positions, and it put us in some good areas where we didn't take advantage of it. But always with Højbjerg, there's just one inexplicable moment, and it just comes with him leaving the ball to go in the back of the net, bumping into Son on the line. It does my head in when he does things like that. And an experienced player.
Why isn't Son or Højbjerg going for Jackson or going for the ball? I don't understand.
They both leave Jackson. They both head on the line, and then they get in each other's way. And one of them could have probably got to Jackson before it went to him, and one of them could have cleared the ball off the line. And instead, they both get in each other's way, and they let the ball just drift into the back of the net. And then the second goal goes in, and the game's gone. That was inexplicable from him. He had some other shocking moments as well, where he was just doing some really haphazard stuff, but there was some good stuff as well. It wasn't all bad, so I gave him a 5.
And finally, Bryan Gil. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. It was like a Hail Mary sub, wasn't it? Bryan Gil coming on in the last 10 minutes or so, just to try and have a go, which, he did try and have a go, but his quality is just so low. It was just so frustrating to watch. It was like a schoolboy trying to run up against, a grown man, and it was his crossing ability is woeful. He was getting on the ball, like I said, trying to make something happen, but he just couldn't do anything. He was just so frustrating.
Yeah, it's like every time he got the ball to him, we were giving it away, essentially. And there was one time where he was 1-on-1 with Madueke. He was asked to take him on. He goes on the outside of him. Madueke just shoves him over, blows him over essentially, and he falls over. And Madueke just says, yeah, whatever. It was nothing. This is why Bryan Gil is not going to make it in the Premier League. I don't think he just doesn't have that upper strength. And when he does earn himself half a yard, he just doesn't have the quality to whip in any sort of cross with any sort of quality or accuracy. And a few of his crosses were completely wayward when he did get a chance to whip it in. When he didn't, he was giving it away. It wasn't a great cameo from him.
Last but not least, Ange Postecoglou. 3s all round from Ange. It must be the lowest mark that we've probably given him this season. But things are regressing, and they're regressing badly, and he needs to take accountability for that, and he did do that after the game, to be fair to him, which was right for him to do. But if you're seeing players losing hope and losing the kind of fire in their eyes and the drive and the just being a competent football player on the pitch, just giving your all on the pitch, the buck stops with the manager in that sense, in my opinion, and he's not doing enough to motivate them. Every single midfield trio he picks seems to be the wrong trio, because they're all underperforming. We can't seem to be creating chances, which is like a hallmark of an Ange Postecoglou team, to create chance after chance after chance. And we're just so open at the back. So if we can't create chances, we're so open at the back, then you're just a really terrible team. Yeah. That's essentially what we are. And these set pieces, man, time and time again. And the comments that he makes about them just frustrate me so much. It was like, because if you have a clear problem glaring at you in the face, why would you not want to just go and fix it? And yeah, maybe you don't want to tell your problems to the world in terms of to the press and stuff, which is fair play. I can understand that. But when you can see that nothing is changing and nothing is getting fixed on the football pitch, then he's got to take a massive blame for that. And if he thinks that we can keep being this bad at set pieces and things are just going to miraculously change on their own and we're going to start conceding less, then he's deluded. I'm sorry, he's deluded. And he's got to take accountability for these set pieces, for how open we look, for the underperforming for players, and for the lack of chance creation. He's got to take the buck for all of that. And that's why I've given him such a low mark.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the biggest problem for me, yes, all those things are problems, don't get me wrong, big problems. But for me, the biggest problem is that when we're on the ball, we are not creating chances. We're so easy to defend against. We're so easy for the opposition to mark out the game and stop even getting chances on their goal. Stop their keeper making any sort of saves. We're struggling to even get shots on target at the moment. That's, for me, the biggest concern. That, for me, is, yeah, set pieces are bad, but when we went 1-0 down because of a set piece, it wasn't as if that was against run of play. That was coming. We were second best for those opening 25 minutes. That's a big concern for me. And I think Ange has to take a lot of responsibility. I also think, in terms of his subs, I actually didn't mind, obviously, the bringing on Bentancur, Højbjerg, and Madison. That's fine. But I didn't like that he took Johnson off the right, put him on the left, when I thought Johnson was our most threatening player, and then turned him into our most ineffective player, moving him over to the left. And then we were completely on the wings, completely disjointed, and we weren't really creating anything whatsoever. I got a big problem at the moment with any kind of midfield he chooses from. Nothing works, and I don't think it's because all of these midfielders are bad players. I don't believe that. I think a lot of them are very good players, but none of them seem to be working at the moment, and I don't know whether his message to them is not coming across, they're not listening to him, or they're struggling to comprehend what he wants from them. Whatever it is, it's down to him to fix that, and that's definitely his fault. I criticise him as well because I think we need another attacking midfielder in there. At the moment, if we're going to be playing the way we are, we might as well get another attacking midfielder in that midfield because we're open anyway. We're conceding loads of chances. We might as well get another attacking midfielder in there so we can create some more. Because at the moment, unless we get a ball across the face of goal, we're not creating anything at the moment. Anything down the centre is easily being prevented by the opposition. So I think there's a lot for Ange to deal with at the moment. And I think the fact that we seem to be getting worse the more our players come back from injury, and the fitter they're getting, the worse we're getting. And the fact that ever since that Villa game, we seem to have dropped off a cliff for one reason or another is a big concern. We're supposed to be building momentum going into next season, and we're losing momentum. So a lot of things for Ange to figure out at the moment. I understand first year of the rebuild, he needs time, and we need to give him that time. But it's not to say those things you can't be concerned. It doesn't mean you just let everything go. It doesn't mean we can lose all 38 games and say it's first year of a rebuild. I know we haven't done that, but I'm just saying there are points where you still got to call things that are worrying and concerning, and there are things at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. Don't get it twisted. I think I can speak for both of us here, saying that we're 100% behind the management and Ange Postecoglou, but the kind of messages that he is saying right now are very concerning. You know, I think you said it in the match review, the comments that he said after the game about the players, right, losing belief and losing, I can't remember the other word that he said. Conviction. But he didn't just say that about the players. He said that about his staff as well. And that is also very concerning. And I think that when you're looking at the staff that he's employed here at Spurs, none of them are like seasoned veterans or player or staff and coaches that have been in the game for a long time. Like Mile Jedinak, this is his first job. Ryan Mason, I mean, that goes unsaid. Rob Birch, he's just an old goalkeeper that we had that never made it, and I don't think he's been a coach anywhere. So, I mean, I think we need more experience around the place, in my opinion, and we definitely need a set-piece coach. That goes without saying as well. So, I don't know. I'm not sure that Ange Postecoglou has surrounded himself with the best coaching staff since coming to Tottenham.
I don't know what to combat. I'm not there on the training sessions. I don't know, but
I mean, if his coaching staff are losing the belief, then surely that says it all.
Coaching staff?
He said players and staff.
Well, that's a problem. That's a big problem. If there's coaching staff are losing belief, that's a massive problem.
You know what I mean?
If Ange is the only one who has belief, then that's a massive red flag.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how it progresses. But that is your player ratings. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.